Right, this mirror has been in this tepid water, now cold water, for a good 2 hours. Some of the stuff has come off it. So let's give it a bit of. Oh, that's good. Even more's come off. Oh yeah. Look how bad that is. That's just horrendous. It's coming back to life. But it's going to be a slow process, I think. Okay. I watched lots of videos from stargazers about how to clean telescope optics, and because I'd never actually done this before. Although in the dim and distant, I've seen people do some real damage to front silvered mirrors. This is, by the way, is a front silvered mirror. So it's a big block of flat glass that has a vapor deposited layer of aluminium over the front surface. And we all know aluminium is as soft as butter, so although it's really shiny, it's really delicate. So cleaning it is a really, really long-winded, delicate, soft process. Right, I'm going to just rinse and repeat that same operation. So it's in the soapy water, give it a good swish it around a lot, take it out, clean it down, empty the water, and then repeat. Here we go. This is about as clear as I'm going to get it. You can still see there's lots of marks over it. All the bits that were stuck on it have gone. So this is the next stage. Cotton wool. Just drag it across the surface and get rid of it. However, I'm going to reuse the other end and get rid of it. You see that? See what's coming off? There you go. I've done half of it, so you can see there's a significant difference. There's still, I think, another couple more goes over would probably finish it, but I'll continue anyway. It's the same thing, just keep dragging the cotton wool over it, but don't use any weight, because the last thing you want is to pick up a piece of dust and then scrape it into the surface. Most of a roll. Ugh. We'd buy that, wouldn't we? There are still some blemishes in it and marks in it, but that's just the way it's going to be. That's pretty good, I would have thought. So I'm going to dry it off now with a hairdryer. I took all the finished parts down to the summer house. I thought I got more space there to lay things out and to do the reassembly. Mind yourself, Puss. Come on. Okay, we've pretty much finished. This is, well, these are all of the parts for this optical comparator. So it's been thoroughly resprayed, thoroughly redone. It actually looks the business. So now it's just a case of putting it together. The only things that are missing out of this pile are the glass for the display and the mirror that goes on the back there. They're I'll put them in as the last pieces before we do the before we put the case on. All of these parts, nuts and bolts, have been degreased, de-rusted, chemically blackened, and given a coat of dewatering oil, so they should be okie dokie. The gauges really need replacing. They look, I think the springs aren't really, there's too much friction in them. There's no oil in them, which is the way they should be, but as you see, it's not really. I'll have to look how much a set of digital gauges are. This one's okay. I never come across this make before. Come on, focus. Focus! John Bull, British Indicators Limited, made in England. I didn't even realise that we made indicators at any point. Clearly they're like me, past their best. Anyway, let's put the old girl together. I must be an old hippie at heart. The somehow it just doesn't smell right without a joss stick burning. This is the assembly for raising and lowering the optical table, and it's a pretty tricky thing to get right. You've got to minimise the gap between the bevel gears in order to get a nice smooth movement of it. So it was a tricky thing to put together. Okay, bit of oil. To adjust the fit between these two, which is done. The mesh between those bevel gears is done by screwing this.
into about there. No. What's missing here? A bit more. Teensy bit more. There we go. Now we've got a bit of positive thrust. Hurrah! Alright, I'll do these up. Do the screws up and we'll see what we get. Right, I have found the right dovetails, hopefully the right screws, and the tiniest of grub screws, which goes in the top. So let's get that grub screw in first before I go and lose it. There we go. And that whoops, a bit tight, undo that slightly. There we go. Right, now that's tight. That's tight. Right, so that's the first one done.
I was pleased to get this, what you call a vertical knee on a mill section that raises and lowers the bed, put back together. It ran beautifully, so I was quite pleased that I've not managed to disrupt any of the fits of the parts.
There we go. And this sleeve engages with this pin, so if I just push that over the top. A bit tricky to get lined up. There we go. And just there we go. Now we have proper drive. This shaft goes on there, and a grub screw in there locks it on. On the other end of that shaft is a knob. Now I had to get the knob off the shaft because the shaft really needed some serious derusting, so that's happened and that looks the business now. However, in getting the knob off, drifting the roll pin out, a chunk fell off. So what I am going to do is just make, I've got a big block of aluminium. I'm just going to turn up a little collar that will slide, once it's assembled, slide over and cover up that, a nice little turned piece of alley. So I'll go and do that off camera because you know, we've all seen turning before, turning and drilling. Okay, there's the lighting in here is not very good. There's the broken knob. There's the shaft that fits into it. And there is the collar I've just turned up. So now let's see if we can get this fitted and take it from there. Right, I think I've worked out the sequence of events here. So first up is a little bit of oil in the hole. Okay, that's good. On the other side of that goes this pinion. There we go. The holes line up. Now we can push it in. Make it vertical, I think. There we go. Now, on the actual cross slide, the rack, snug those up. So how did I take that to bits? That's the big question. Ah, like that. There we go. Now I can slide the cross slide gib in. Long way up. There we go. Two knobs, one does the height, one does the cross slide. Spot on. Right, next. Here's the table. There's a little bit of mark. I think this was anodized, so I'm a bit reluctant to go and strip the finish off, but you can see there's some marks where the original hardware was left on it. Anyway, right, that goes there's a rack. Let me go and get the screws for the rack. Right, so figured it out, I think. I found the right hardware. I'm missing a couple of pieces though, and that's because I knew I was missing a couple of pieces. Firstly, we can put this on the rack. The problem I had with the rack was I haven't got a screw for the other end. That one. So I'm going to shorten that one. And if I turn out to be short somewhere else, I will sort that out. Right, here's the gib strip, and all the way up. There we go. Now I can, because of the design of this thing, can actually pre-fit the... Hang on, wrong side. I can pre-fit the adjusters. Now, if all goes to plan, should be able to put a splodge of oil on there. And a splodge of oil in there. And a teensy bit on the rack. And that's ready to go. However, I'm also short of a roll pin for there. So I'm going to see what I can find that I've got to just push in there. That is the adjuster, the pinion for the rack. Whoops.
I didn't realise until I got to this point that I'd lost the roll pin that secures this pinion to the shaft. So in the next shot you'll see how I fixed that.
Right, this is what I did. I've made a tapered dowel. That's a snug fit. So hopefully there'll be a jiggery. There we go. Right. Oh yes. Oh, we're there, boys. We're there.
Here's a speeded up sequence of me bolting the rest of the parts on for this optical stage. It's not shown on this picture, but the optical guides, the light pipes, I fixed the rubbers inside with a couple of tap washers, flat tap washers that I re-drilled.